Hello, my name is Adin, and this is my story.
I remember when we were getting ready for Adin to be born, so many people gave us the advice that parenting is going to be a journey. It's not going to come with an instruction manual. And
True.
They were right. And I would say that there's definitely not an instruction manual for raising children on the autism spectrum. It's been a challenge, and it's been a lot of learning along the way, and a lot of prayer, a lot of talking with each other, talking to other people, and just really seeking God's wisdom. I think ultimately our prayer for our boys has always been that we want them to encounter God. More than anything else, we just wanted to know that our boys would know God for themselves, not because of mom and dad, but because they would truly encounter God. And that's been our prayer for both of them for so long. And for Adin, there were moments where I would truly doubt, is he ever going to have that moment where he would encounter God? And I remember just praying so often, God, I need you to show me and confirm to me that he knows who you are and that he encounters you. And I've always stood on the scripture, Psalms 37:25. It's just resonated with me ever since our boys have walked the journey they walk. And it's, I was young and now I am old, but I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their seed begging bread. And that's just always been an encouragement to me as a reminder that although things are difficult and I don't always know what the future is going to hold, I know that God's going to take care of my boys. And someone told me multiple times that if you just keep taking care of God's children, he's going to always take care of yours. And that's really how we've committed to live our life, is just, man, we want to see people encounter God's presence. And as we're passionately pursuing people to have that, God has then come behind and made sure that our boys are having that moment for themselves also.
Yeah, and I think it's just taking one step at a time. So not trying to do it all at once, but one little step here and there.
Yeah, and what's been a major blessing and a major benefit to our life is that we have not had to do this by ourselves.
Yeah.
God has surrounded us with such amazing people. Our family, our natural family is so supportive. They love our boys. So many members of previous church, our church that we go to now, they have been so supportive to get into our boys' world and truly get to know them for who they are. But there's also been just key individuals that God has a way of connecting you with. One of those has been Dr. Sandy Robinson, and she has spent so much time with Adin, and she has literally helped him come out and do things that we weren't sure we would ever see.
Well, my friendship started with Adin a few years ago, and it kind of blossomed because we were both interested in animals. Anyone that knows Adin knows that he is a walking encyclopedia, all things animals. The other challenge he was facing was he was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. And because of that, I mean, he does so well, but there are two tripping points. The first one is inflexible thinking, and the second is the perseveration of thought. It's difficult because he's on the spectrum, but he also has this layer of generalized anxiety.
All right, so the reason I was afraid of other teenagers last year was because I just saw them differently. I just saw them as like strangers. I just had so much anxiety around them. We had a youth room, but I was too scared to go in. So I stayed in the sound booth all the time. But I overcame it.
And what he wanted was to be able to navigate his social landscape. He wanted to make friends and maintain friendships. He wanted to share God's love with others, but there were some challenges that were holding him up.
And I was scared of people. I was scared to be around them. I was also scared to be around other teens. Because of this pool party I attended, well, I was still afraid, but I went out there and I got in the pool and I met somebody new. and it worked out very well. I was no longer scared of them, and I no longer saw them differently. I'm able to talk to other youths now. I'm also able to talk to new people now.
I remember last year we had the opportunity to go to some of our friends' church in Lincoln, Nebraska, Mercy City Church, Pastor Kerry and Matt Erickson, who have been such great friends to us, really people that just encourage us and speak life into us. And even Pastor Matt's come and spoken to our church a couple times. We went to be part of a regional event at their church. And one of the things on the schedule that week was 6:30 a.m. prayer on Tuesday morning, which I remember when we saw that on the schedule.
Like, no way.
We're like, we're not going to go to that because it's 6:30 a.m. And we were thinking, we don't have the kids, we're going to enjoy sleeping in.
Right.
But after being at the event, we realized, well, we're pastors, we should probably go to the prayer meeting. So we went to the prayer meeting at 6:30 a.m. and it was just so amazing to see 200 or so people just coming at 6:30 a.m., most of which were young people, before high school, before college, coming in to pray. And I remember that day, it really marked something in me to just see these young people passionately pursuing God. But I was really drawn to Pastor Matt and Carrie's kids. They were all in the room. They were all praying. And they weren't praying because mom and dad was telling them to pray. They're praying because it's what they do. Yeah. And there was this moment where they brought all of us pastors from the other churches together. And they said, hey, Mercy City family, we want you to pray over all of our network pastors. And it just so happened that one of their sons, Eli, who's also been to our church, he came over and he prayed for us. And he put his hands on our shoulders. And he didn't just pray, he prayed and was prophesying over us, prophesying over our family. And I remember he specifically said, God, I pray over their boys that they're going to have a boldness and they're going to be able to do things for God. And, and he's just praying things that we believe for, but sometimes it seems like, are we going to see those things? And it was in that moment after he prayed for us, I remember standing in the altar in their sanctuary. It was just me and you standing around, but I just remember, I just simply, in my own way, I told God, I want to see that in my son. I want to see that level of boldness, but not just boldness, but the ability to go pray for people and just call things out of them. And that's what I'm believing for my boys. And I remember thinking, it would be amazing to see, but I wonder if it could actually happen. But I just had this faith leaving that place that day that God would do it. So we were so marked by that Tuesday morning prayer that when we came back to our church, we talked about it and we prayed about it and we decided, maybe we should start Tuesday night prayer. In our context, we felt like it would work better in the evening than in the morning. And we started Tuesday night prayer. Well, little did we know that was going to be something that would really initiate a whole new thing in Adin that we had never seen before.
It was like a light flip switched.
Yeah.
And he just changed.
And I have become very brave to speak to people. One Tuesday night, I told somebody my story, 2 people actually. I told them the story about how I overcame my troubles. I am brave. And I no longer have those thoughts in my head. Yeah, I used to think I didn't have any friends, but then I remembered I did have friends. I also used to think people saw me different, but for a long time, I believed that stuff because I needed to believe what was true. That nobody saw me different, and nobody thought, no one said anything mean to me. And that other kids weren't really bad. But I no longer believe that. Because I've gotten to see other kids at these youth services, and they've been very nice. And they haven't said anything mean. Yeah, I especially met a new one that Tuesday night prayer when I told that person my story. Well, I told them that I used to be mad at people and that I used to be mad at other youths. But I let go of all that stuff after I encountered Jesus. It was an amazing thing I did that night. I was brave enough to tell somebody my story.
I remember, like, even people in our church, they would say, like, have y'all seen him? He would just recklessly worship, like throw his hands up in the air. He'd never done that one time. And I remember one night I prayed over him. I went just in the sound booth where he was standing before he'd ever worshiped. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I just remember crying. I was like, God, I want you to touch Adin. I know that you're the God that can do anything. And I just want you to touch him. I want him to encounter you for himself. And I walked away and I just remember thinking, you know what, God, you're so sovereign. You're so gracious. You're so miraculous. Will you just give me the words to tell my son? Let me say it in a way that Adin will understand it. And for anyone who knows our son, he's enamored with animals. Animals are his favorite thing since the day he was born. I mean, we've been to so many zoos. We've done vacations
Every
around
zoo is
zoos.
on the bucket list, right?
Yeah,
Checked
he
off.
can tell you anything you want to know about animals. And I remember I went back into the sound booth and I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, Adin, you know more about animals than you know about anything. And I said, I know you love the lion because it's so bold and it's so courageous. And what you need to understand is that lion, that boldness and that courageous, that attitude of the lion, that's alive inside of you. Like, you can be bold like a lion. And it was in that moment, it was as if something in his mind shifted and he realized, I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to live with all this anxiety. And he has every reason to, because he has reasons why he struggles. He has reasons why it's hard to interact with people, and we know that. But it was something in that moment. I'll never forget saying that prayer over him, because it wasn't something I came up with. It was I needed God to give me the words to be able to communicate to my son in a way that he would understand. And that's what I love about God, is he's so gracious and he's so merciful that he allows us, if we ask on him, he's going to tell us what to do if we just lean into it. And it was really in that moment where everything shifted. Adin began to worship freely every Sunday. Like, he has his hands up in the back. Tuesday night prayer, he has his hands up. We go visit somebody else's church. We went to one of our friends' church last year, and in a congregation of over 600 to 700 people, he knew nobody. And that big crowd that used to just petrify him, he's got both hands in the air. And our pastor from Florida, who was in the room that night, he came up to me and he had tears in his eyes. And he said, you need to know that watching your son worship is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And just to see the lives that are being impacted because of a heart that Adin has got for God, and to know that ultimately what God's allowed us to do is see him answer our prayer in real time. So I love to see God do what he's doing in this season with Adin. And I can't wait to see what's next, because he's got the boldness of the lion inside of him.
All right. Well, I mainly worship because I knew what I was supposed to do. So I stretched my arms out. And that's when I gave my life to Jesus. And I encountered Jesus that night. And I changed because I changed because I knew I had to change, because I couldn't be that person I used to be anymore. I changed that night. Everything changed inside me. God cares about me, and he loves me. Yes. That I have a lion on the inside, and that I am brave. My purpose is to help others and help them go to Jesus.